Hey everyone, welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be talking about e-communication technology, so let's get started. So what do we mean by e-communication? So e-communication describes any form of technology that enables communication via electronic means. So if it's coming from a computer or a mobile computing device of some kind, and it deals with being able to communicate with someone, to speak to people in some way, it's regarded as e-communication. So this includes all formats of e-communication, such as, but not limited to, social networking sites, all text-based messaging applications and formats, and any kind of voice or video communication. But it's not just limited to these. Anytime any kind of communication is happening via electronic means, we're dealing with e-communication. So, of course, email, in that sense, is worth mentioning off the bat. Its impact on the establishment of e-communication technology and just the effect that it had on modern society and the modern world of computing, it cannot be overstated. E-communication, email, that's one, it's e-communicate, EE. So we'll deal with more common forms of e-communication first, and then we're going to come back around and get deeper into email in a later slide. So probably the most commonly used form of e-communication today is some kind of instant messaging, or IM, as you might have heard it referred to. So instant messaging is any technology that allows us to send short messages directly to each other to facilitate conversation of some kind. So the rapid communication of short messages, basically. So another way to describe this is live text-based communication. It's live. It's happening in real time. I'm texting you. You're texting me back. So the obvious examples in this category would be mobile apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, WeChat, Signal, iMessage, Facebook Messenger, as well as like the direct message features on apps like Instagram. Whenever there's rapid communication of short messages or longer messages, like with WhatsApp, you can type up long essays, but basically just it's designed to be short message communication. So the instant messaging apps also include desktop apps like Skype, Google Hangouts, Yahoo Messenger, Windows Live Messenger, and of course Discord, as IT learners familiar with. The only difference between desktop and mobile e-communication is, of course, where they are installed. Whether it's installed on your mobile device or on your computer, what operating system it's installed onto. The information is still passed from your device through the network of the internet the exact same way it is for any other device. It's just about what device you have and how that data reaches that device that changes. But ultimately, it's all the same thing. That's why I can send a message, from my phone to your computer if I needed to. It's all the same communication. I just wanted to make that clear. But there are mobile apps and then there are desktop apps. So building on instant messaging, we have this technology called SMS and MMS. I'll start with the SMS. So SMS stands for Short Message Service. It's a communication standard or protocol, a rule for communication, that allows compatible mobile devices to receive short messages, kind of like how you would receive Morse code or a telegram as it was throughout history. So all phones have all phones have this feature built into them, the ability to receive SMSs. If there is one phone out there that doesn't receive SMSs, I've personally never heard of it, but I'd be interested to find out about that for future lessons. So if you know, please hit me up. Even the tiniest phone ever made, I'll show you a photo of that at some point, but even the tiniest phone ever made could SMS. I'm sure you've all received an SMS at some point. This shouldn't be new technology to you. This is stuff that's been around for a long time. It's how a lot of spam happens these days. You probably get a lot of spam SMSs from people, like things for funeral cover or people telling you that you've won the lottery or something. But it's also still a standard for how confirmation codes are sent to people to sign up for services. So sometimes if you register a website and they need to verify your phone number, they'll send you an SMS to verify it. Same with WhatsApp. Banks also use it to alert you of changes to your account balance. So, if somebody makes a deposit or if you make a payment, you'll get an SMS notification to let you know that somebody's using your account, or, that your changes have been made to your account. Those of you who have an iPhone, I should just mention, those of you who have an iPhone and use iMessage should know that if you message someone who doesn't have an iPhone, iMessenger would send the message as an SMS, assuming that you have enough airtime balance to send the message, of course, because SMSs cost money to send. Of course, if they have iMessage, then it just gets, it just sends the message to their iPhone using your Wi-Fi connection or your mobile data. Both of which are immensely cheaper compared to SMSs. Like it's incalculable how much cheaper sending a message, say through WhatsApp or from an iPhone to an iPhone with iMessenger is compared to how much it would cost to send SMSs. So like all good things in networking, SMS, the format, the technology, was based on some format of radio and mobile technology. I'm not going to get into details of it, but basically the same technology that gives us the good things in life, like cell phone signal, Wi-Fi, and 3G, is how SMS messages are sent and received. It's all part of the same technology. So now, multimedia messaging service, or MMS. The multimedia messaging service was how you previously sent photos and videos to people who weren't in Bluetooth range, because it used to be that if you wanted to send your friend a video or something, you'd have to Bluetooth it to them. So before apps like Facebook and WhatsApp made it ridiculously easy to share images to one another, you needed to transfer a file to their phone via the MMS frequency channel and hope that their phone could read the file formatted and display it to you, depending on the point in time and the mobile technology as it was at the time. So MMS messages were very expensive. I think last time I sent one, it was like R5 in MMS or something like that. And at one point, they were how Vodacom would communicate messages to its users. So like it would send you a short video thing, a very low res video that via MMS that you didn't have to pay to download, thankfully, and it would just tell you all about Vodacom's deals or stuff like that. So that's the last time I got an MMS message. But it's interesting to note that if you ever needed to send a photo to someone not using data, you could theoretically do it using MMS. It is possible, and it works the exact same way SMS does. It's just instead of sending text, it sends ones and zeros to represent the image or the file that it is sending, and there is a limit to how big the messages that you can send are, which would cause a lot of problems with modern cell phone technology. The pictures being so large, you might not be able to send it as an MMS. So maybe it's data technology for a reason. So next up, in terms of applications to facilitate e-communication, we're going to talk about social networking sites, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. You were brought up in the age of social networking. So social networking sites are websites where individuals or organizations can communicate with other individuals or organizations to share their likes, dislikes, interests, pictures, videos, ideas, links, memes, and so much more, depending on the social networking site that you're using. So the idea is to let people create, as I'm sure you're all aware, it's to let people create digital examples of themselves or digital simulations of their ego, and have those avatars simulate social interaction by sharing spicy memes and getting into comment arguments on Facebook. So the obvious examples here are the big ones like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, but it also includes websites like TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Pinterest, and Google+. All of these sites differ in how they meet the requirements of being a social networking site, but they're all considered social networking sites and are all applications that facilitate this electronic communication that we're talking about. So VoIP is pretty straightforward. VoIP stands for Voice over the Internet Protocol. It has to do with telephonic communications, or in other words, making phone calls over the internet or any kind of network. In fact, if you are making a phone call over a network or over the internet, it's probably using the VoIP protocol, unless you're calling on an actual analog phone, because it just makes so much more sense now in a lot of businesses and even Telkom themselves, as well as in our school environment, the phones, they don't use analog telephone signals. They actually use the network. It sends packets of information through the network that then gives us the impression that we're making a typical phone call, but really it's two-way communication using the internet or using some form of network. So, like I said, if you're using voice communication, or if you're having a phone call of some kind, or you're doing a live voice-to-voice phone call of some kind, it's probably using the VoIP protocol. And I know that's technically not correct to say the VoIP protocol, because the P in VoIP stands for protocol, so it's like saying the VoIP, the voice over the internet protocol, which I don't care. I'm going to call it the VoIP protocol. So yeah, it is the international standard for real-time voice chat. Okay, in the internet chapter, we'll take a closer look at protocols. Like I said, a protocol is just a rule for communication. So we agree. I'm going to do things one way, and we're both going to do things one way. I'm going to I'm going to send things in the specific format. I expect to get them back in that format. In the same way, you're going to send things in a specific format and expect to get them back in a specific format. And that's how that communication happens. So that's a protocol, and the VoIP protocol is, as we've said, the one that we use for making phone calls over a network. So yeah, like we'll get into protocols deeper in the internet chapter, but for now, just know that it's basically a rule for communication. Everyone agrees we're going to send packets in this particular format, and we're going to call it VoIP. Okay, so of course, most instant messaging apps have some feature set that falls into this category, but be careful not to mistake sending voice recordings like voice notes for the voice over the internet protocol. It's only when there is real-time two-way communication that it's probably using VoIP. Okay, it's awkward to say it's probably using VoIP or the VoIP protocol, or using using the VoIP. You see, saying using the VoIP doesn't sound right. It sounds more right to say using the VoIP protocol, even though it's not technically grammatically correct. But whatever, the things that we occupy our minds with. So obvious apps for VoIP include WhatsApp calls, Hangouts, Skype, Discord. I'm sure you yourself can name a whole bunch of them. I want to say, what was that one? House Party as well. That's technically using the VoIP protocol. Pretty much. I guess now might be a good way to segue into the next application to facilitate e-communication, which is video conferencing. Because what I want to say is, pretty much whenever you're using video conferencing, that is a form of e-communication, of course, that's worth defining as its own separate thing. But video chat technology is using a combination of a protocol that is for video that we're not going to get into because it's not assessed. So there's a protocol for the video, and then there's also a protocol for the voice, and the voice aspect is VoIP. So now we can move on to video conferencing. So what is video conferencing? So first let's video conferencing describes technology that allows two or more people to video chat with one another. So this is not only using the VoIP protocol, like I've said, to have voice chat, but also a webcam and further protocols to transmit and receive live video feed. So this is used by businesses to hold international business meetings, as well as for families and loved ones to keep some, level of personal contact when they're physically apart. And of course, it's used, now for us in the classroom environment. We're using video conferencing to be able to have lessons during this pandemic that's occurring. And yeah, same as before, basically, it's all the same programs ultimately there, because, video and VoIP go together quite nicely. I know WhatsApp does have its own, does have its own separate, voice calling feature, as does Messenger. It has its own separate VoIP voice calling feature, but yeah, all of these apps also have a video component that some of them are separate, some aren't. Like Discord, that is separate. Discord is meant to be a voice thing, but it also has a video capability for video conferencing, which is what we use it for. Yeah. Okay. So that's VoIP and video conferencing. Okay. So now let's reminisce about the internet of yesteryear. Online chat isn't as much of a thing as it used to be on the internet in the 90s and early 2000s. but it's definitely still a thing. If you Google online chat, you'll see a whole ton of websites still going. So online chat describes any situation where you're communicating with two or more people, normally strangers, via some form of instant messaging platform. Okay, so the most common form of this was and still is chat rooms, as I spoke about. These were websites where you could join channels to talk with one or more people who had similar interests to you, so you could share ideas and talk to like-minded people. Chat like this happened through an instant messaging type platform. I'm sure many of you can think of some examples of websites you've used in the past that would fit the description. A popular example I'm sure everyone remembers is Omegle. But other more appropriate examples would include any situation where there is live chat, such as public Discord servers, live streams on a wide range of platforms, YouTube, Twitch, and of course online gaming servers. If you join a server and there's the gaming server and there's chat happening in there, that's an example of online chat as well. So Mixit, we won't get deep into that little Mixit rip. We won't get deep into, but it's worth bringing up. It used to be this mobile chat program that was like it was like South Africa's claim to fame for one point. Everyone had Mixit. It was quite an international success as well. So Mixit, it used to be this mobile chat program that ran across a huge range of devices, including most color screen based feature phones, as well as newer smartphones that were just coming out at the time. So this, like I said, this is in a time before smartphones. It revolutionized personal communication for us, because I was in grade 8 when it when it first like started getting big, and I first got it, and it was like up until that point we had to send SMS messages to one another, and like I said, SMS messages were expensive. And now you could just log into Mixit and just message your friends. You still had to log into the program, like you had to open it, log in, and then you could only talk so long as you were online. But anyone that was online, you could message, and it changed the game completely. But then in around like 2011, 2012, it was almost completely abandoned when WhatsApp entered the game. It shut down in 2016, and until that point, they had an incredibly active chat room community within South Africa as well as internationally. So that was its main draw, past the point of it being used for effective e-communication like we do now with WhatsApp. It was still a popular chat room where people could just, jump into a chat room and just talk with people on Mixit. So obviously, we don't need to say this, but be careful who you meet on these sites. I'm sure you've heard this before, and this is a whole other chapter later on in the grade 10 curriculum. But just be careful who you meet online on these sites. Be careful who the internet is littered with horror stories of people meeting people on chat rooms, and it's always like whenever you hear something's gone wrong and the internet's involved, generally speaking, someone met someone on a chat room. It was either Craigslist or a chat room. So just remember to keep it anonymous. Never reveal any personal details about yourself. Don't give away your location. So if somebody's asking for your password or for your IP or for your router details, obviously don't give it to them. That's online chat. The main distinguisher between online chat and instant messaging, just in case you want some distinction on that, instant messaging was apps like or instant messaging is apps like WhatsApp. You are instantly messaging someone directly, whereas online chat is more directed to being something that is more community based and is anonymous with a group of people. So yeah, that's online chat. Okay guys, that's it for part 1. See you in part 2 where we talk about email.